So when we got married, how well could either of us cook?
About -1 on my side and about a 0 on my wife. You could make a really good toasted cheese and tomato with butternut soup. That's what you could make.
What?
Remember you made me soup and toasted...
It actually was a boxed soup from Trader Joe's.
Well.
What else
All these years.
What else could I make?
Boiled chicken breasts. Like, not
I've
boiled,
never
like
boiled.
Poached. Like poached in the oven.
Okay.
We once put a whole turkey inside an oven.
That was good.
Yeah.
That meal lasted us a really
I
long time.
subsided on rice and sweet potatoes with ketchup.
Good. So this is where I come in because I need to explain this story. So the first time Scott ever cooked for me, we were very newly married. And at that time, I was working a whole lot more than you were because Scott wasn't allowed to work for immigration. So I was working at Trader Joe's at the time, and he said he would fix me dinner. So I got home, and the meal he made, hold on, I'm gonna get him in this because he's very proud of this. The meal that he made was rice mixed with sweet potato, mixed with ketchup and mayonnaise all together, like mixed in a giant pot. And it was like huge portion size, like a big bowl, like a big pot of it.
As a bachelor, you would make 2 to 3 days worth and then just eat it from the bat.
It was so disgusting that I was so upset. And I was like, I'm not eating this. So I ended up cooking food for myself that night.
Yeah.
And you ended up eating that for like 5 days in a row.
Yeah, it was a hard time.
But my conclusion is this was his way out of ever having to cook again. However, then a few months later, we went to South Africa and I learned he knew how to grill very well, which he had withheld that from me for our first...
we couldn't afford meat.
And a grill. We didn't have a grill either. Yeah, so our food journey has been very interesting. I actually, the first meal I ever made for you, you probably don't remember this, but I worked at Trader Joe's, so obviously people were always telling me recipes, and some old lady told me about some recipe with like chicken broth and ground turkey and like marinating it all together. So I was like, oh, I'll make that for my first meal for us, because he had just arrived from South Africa. And I think I was trying to put turmeric on it or garlic powder, and I sprinkled cinnamon all over it because I wasn't really paying attention. I was probably nervous and I was mortified. So it completely changed my meal plan, and because I was like, I can't give this to him now. So then I dumped barbecue sauce over the whole thing. You had no idea. I never told you until like probably years later. So that was my first experience. So my mom is an amazing cook. My sisters are amazing cooks. And I lived with my one sister for like all the way up until I met Scott, and she did most of the cooking. Or we would eat things like from Trader Joe's, like shrimp or beans and rice, like, you know, basic things. But to say I knew how to cook was like, not happening. So we want to encourage all the young ladies out there that it is a journey, and it is okay to take the time to learn how to cook, and it's going to take time. It took me years to now where I finally feel confident in cooking and having fun with recipes and making mistakes. But at the beginning, when I would like semi-follow recipes and then semi-wing it, and then the meal would turn out awful or ruined or wouldn't work out, I was like devastated because I put so much work and time into it, and it was like not even edible. And like Scott would still say it's edible and eat it, but there's no way it was good. And I was just so disappointed in myself, and I just felt like such a failure. But that's how you learn. You learn by trying things. And you know, there are two different personalities I feel out there. Some people that like follow recipes to a T, which could almost be even more stressful because those type of people are so afraid of messing up that they don't even want to try it, and so they just don't cook. And then there's the other type of people, which would be more like myself, who just wing recipes and are like, I can probably figure out this recipe better than the written down recipe, so I'm gonna do it myself. And I'd say sometimes that works out, but at the beginning, when you have no idea what you're doing, just follow the recipe. Humble yourself, and as you get to know ingredients and learn, then you can substitute and add things. I mean, I still will do this. Like, actually, I'm doing it tonight. I'm making homemade pizza for us, and I'm following the recipe that I always use out of the VITAMIX recipe book that they give you when you order a blender. Tonight, I decided I would try adding a sourdough discard to it instead of 1 cup of flour, substituting it for some sourdough. So this could be like awful, or it could be amazing, but this is how I find out. And for me, it's worth the risk, and I feel like I'm familiar enough with these ingredients that I can risk it. And so just have fun with it. I think another thing is atmosphere for me, like making an atmosphere of learning and like making your pantry nice. Like for me, having a glass pantry has been really fun to like make the kitchen an enjoyable experience, having nice kitchen tools. This year I finally learned how to use cast iron, which took a really long time to actually commit to. We've had cast iron since 2018 and we've never used it because we've always had other convenient pans to use. And so finally we were like, let's just put away everything that's not cast iron and figure out how to use this. And that took some time too. And I think I probably cried over the cast iron because it would rust and I didn't season it right. But there's so many YouTube videos out there, and just keep on trying until you find what works for you. And now I feel like it's the easiest thing ever to use cast iron. And what else?
Praise God.
Yeah, cooking at home, you end up saving way more money. You end up knowing exactly what is in your food and the ingredients that you're using, and just give it time. If I can learn how to cook, anyone can learn how to cook. Okay, I'm gonna give you a spontaneous tour of our kitchen. This was not planned, so things are just as they are. So kitchen table, this was our original pantry area. It has definitely grown in size since we've moved in. We started out with just this little black shelf and then have expanded it to all of these shelves. So these 3 we got at auctions. This one was $10, I believe. I think it's either 10 or 12. That bottom one was $2. This one was, I think, 15. Yeah, that was 15 because that was the most expensive one. And then this was an old shelf that we got from Walmart right after we got married. And we're just repurposing it until it falls apart because y'all know how Walmart stuff is. And then this shelf over here is our expanded pantry, which is slowly being filled up with stuff that we're storing. And that shelf was $5, I believe. And then tonight I'm going to be doing more canning. I canned these last night. So 10 pounds of Roma tomatoes made 4 jars of pasta sauce, basil pasta sauce. So going to be doing probably another 4 tonight. And then I have some extra sourdough discard that I'll either make muffins or crackers with. And the kitchen. So right now we have this, which is gonna go on our pizza. I need to add the meat actually. So this is all of the meat that we have. My flour splattered everywhere when I was making the dough, so don't mind that. I'm not gonna be able to get that lid off, but I have meat in there that's been left over from the crock pot. And then here is our dough from the VITAMIX that we blended, which I will now spread out. This makes 2 pizzas. And dishes, more tomatoes. I feel like we're overwhelmed with tomatoes, and this is like my fermenting area. So I have sprouts going, sourdough starter, pickled garlic. I'm making more salsa hopefully tonight to ferment. And I feel like this weight thing is always out. Yeah, the best thing I would say we've ever gotten was the Berkey and the VITAMIX. If you don't buy anything else for your kitchen, buy those 2. Okay, here's the result of our beautiful sourdough crust discard pizza. It looks good, but does it taste good? Also, one of these peppers are so hot, it's like burning my skin. I don't know from when I was cutting it. I don't know, but hopefully it's not as hot as it feels on my finger. Whew, dinner is done. The lighting is kind of bad. And it was a great success. The sourdough discard in the pizza dough recipe turned out really, really good. So because I kind of made it my own, I'll put it in the link below. I'll put the recipe that I used. So I did use a teaspoon of dry active yeast in this because that's what the VITAMIX recipe calls for. Next time, I think I'm gonna try it without the yeast and see how that works. And to end this video, I just wanna say what Lori Alexander says. She said, if you can read, you can cook.